Between the Stars has just launched out of early access into its final release version. It blends together capital ship combat, RPG elements and a space opera story to make a pretty satisfying experience. But not everything is starshine and nebulas for this game. Between the Stars is far from perfect, and for some its flaws could be perfectly acceptable, or for some it could be a deal breaker. So let's go over what I think the game does right and what misses the mark, and what you should expect out of this game. Good day to you my friends, I'm Kenator and let's get to it. First off, the story is long and pretty damn cool. A full-on space opera adventure through the cosmos. It's got all the tropes of politics, backstab, sacrifice, action, love, death, you name it, it's got it. And while overall the writing is pretty good, it has a few areas which are either better than normal or downright sloppy. I remember one scene an enemy switched to an ally with not too much convincing dialogue at all, while another took one or two missions of proving yourself to them, which was much more satisfying. The story as a whole plays out like a choose your own adventure book, because you will be reading the majority of it yourself. It's a mostly linear story with a few branching elements. Pacing is good too, but with some forced story elements within the space fighting part of the game, it can be a little grating, but I won't spoil those here. And that's one of the main points people should know. If you don't like reading lots, then you probably won't like this game. Yes, plenty could be skipped, but you'd lose a lot of the narrative and the connection to the characters, as well as be clueless when you actually have to make a choice instead of just clicking to continue. The game does also feature plenty of voice acting, and some of it's pretty good, and some of it, well, sounds like text to speech. It could be overprocessed, but either way, some of it was just bad. And speaking of not skipping things, the prologue 100% should be played by everybody. Don't be tempted to jump straight into the main playthrough. I think it's essential to both the story and the gameplay, and gives you a taste of what can come later. It can help give you the encouragement you need to get through the starting part of the game, where you start with very lackluster performing ships, and knowing that there's better out there helps you push through. But hey, you gotta start at the bottom to make the top worth the journey. Before starting out and choosing your starting ship, however, the game has some important options for you. We have 2 dice settings, and if you haven't seen the trailer, you might be wondering, what are dice doing in a space game? This is where some of the RPG element of the game comes in and is completely optional. Dice are used in 2 different areas. Firstly, there are challenge checks in the story as part of some of the narrative branches. For example, your luck or leadership ability is being challenged and you need to roll equal or more than the number stated using a 10-sided dice. Sometimes you even get 2 dice and pick the highest for the outcome. However, I'm still not sure if your character's stats affect these rolls or not, as the game is not very clear on this. While completely RNG based, this can end up giving you very different stories based on the outcomes for each different playthrough. The other area of the game the dice are used is in the in-person combat, when you and your crew is off the ship, either on another ship, station or planet. This uses opposing 6-sided dice rolls to either do damage, do a lot of damage, shield your units or do nothing, with the obvious aim to slowly but surely take all of the life points away from the opposing team. With each round of combat you will find points accumulate in the top center between the dice damage. These can be spent to use the items at the bottom of the screen. You collect these from the various ships you blow up along the way, and can be anything from healing items to grenade launchers, and they are completely optional to use, but they can really help you out in a bind when RNG is not in your favour. This can really help stop the loss of a crew member, which can be very frustrating after levelling them up for so long. Crew members can be a crucial area of performance for your ship, as some of their bonuses are directly tied to your combat power, both in offensive and defensive ways. You start with 2 crew members each of the 3 specializations, and each specialization has 3 skill stats, and these will boost anything from your crafting to weapons and shields. Annoyingly, or on purpose to make you choose, the game only allows 8 crew and not 9, so you can't dedicate someone for each skill, but you can get pretty close. It can also be pretty risky if you lose someone in combat, as all that skill is gone with them. Thankfully, you can keep a pool of reserve crew that still level up even though they're not being actively used. The captain, that is your own character in this game, has very different skills to put points in, as well as additional traits that are chosen at random during character creation. Now, I always look forward to character creation, but the one in this game looks extremely dated. Thankfully, it's only used for the comm animations that appear in a small little box in the top left hand corner, and nothing else. The characters all look plastic and lifeless, And while customization is normally great to have, I really didn't find any added value here. The traits you can start with are of 3 different types: bonuses, trade-offs, and negatives. They are easily identified with green, none, and red colouring, and I would say try not to fret too much about which ones you start with, as you will gain many more through the game, and some can even be lost, which can be both good and bad depending on the type of trait. Now on to the ships. Oh boy, the ships. These look fantastic, and I really wish there were more of them. The initial ships are kinda similar in their design, and it really takes a while to get enough money to buy a new one as well as find a place that sells them. Then fast forward to later in the game when you have a lot more choice and money, but that choice would then be a downgrade thanks to the story ships that you end up using, at least in my opinion. That said, there is a lot of depth to the various ships, as it's not just stats that are important, but also its slots and special abilities as well, as each ship will have both red and blue slots for weapons and equipment, and it's very much more is better. The equipment can do various things like cloaking, shield boosting, radar, and much more. And weapons have a huge variety to choose from, with missiles, plasma, lasers, ballistic weapons, which themselves can be either light, medium, or heavy variations. This is then further complicated by the fact that all items have a rarity value that affects their stats as well. Common, high quality, and superior, with each jump boosting its stats. And it doesn't end there either. Each item also has an upgrade level from Mark 1 to Mark 4. All of these things are randomly chosen when a weapon drops as loot or appears in the shop. You can, however, upgrade each item to Mark 4 if you have the resources. And this is a part of the game that I think could have been fleshed out a bit better. Of the 8 different resources that you can get, only the first one can be farmed in space. The rest will have to come from either looting a ship or by salvaging a piece of equipment. And since equipment drops are random, these can lead to a lot of grinding to get the drops you need to get the materials needed out of those items, because not every item is made from all 8 materials. It's normally a selection of 3 to 4. These materials can also be used to craft equipment too, yet I found this to be utterly pointless, as there is easily enough drops just from playing the game to get superior quality items for any build you want to aim for. Initially, crafting just makes a common Mark 1 item, and these are quite inferior to the drops that you get. Add to this the clumsy tech unlocking system the game has, and you may as well ignore it completely. To be able to craft an item, you first need to find that item, which will then unlock the ability to research it with a low chance of doing so successfully. Yep, it's more RNG time. Some loot drops will contain certain blueprints, which will increase the chance of success, but it requires much more work and credits just to unlock the piece that you want, as well as get the materials for it and its upgrades. And it's just not worth it. But once you do have a build for you that works for your style of play, it's a blast. Going from ship to ship, utterly decimating the opposing side, especially if you're on a mission that keeps enemy ships topped up with fresh ones warping in. You end up having a very cinematic experience with shots and ship explosions going off everywhere as your ship weaves through debris to strike at its next target. It's very fun. But at times it can be repetitive and too easy. When travelling, for example, you can get randomly intercepted. It's nearly always 2 or 3 ships that appear from either front or behind. And if it is the front version, then you can just pre-fire at the warp signal that shows up on screen, and one is dead before it can even shoot you. These events should definitely scale with the level of your ship or game progress, as in the late game, they just become a nuisance that get in the way of you trying to get somewhere, rather than actually be a threat. I found the same sort of repetition in the side missions, as no matter where I went, there was always deliveries or bounty hunts to do, and didn't have very much variation, at least for me, so I stopped doing them. And I stuck to the main story, which is this game's strongest asset. I love me a good bit of space opera, and while this isn't going to win any writing awards, I certainly think it's worth your time to play and enjoy. You will get about 20 to 25 hours out of the main story, maybe less if you're a fast reader, and there are probably a lot more side missions I didn't end up doing, because I stopped doing them so early, at least based on looking at the different Steam achievements that I didn't get. I'll definitely be going through an extra playthrough as well to purposely make different choices and try and find some of those missing achievements. Thanks for making it to the end, and I really hope you enjoyed this review. If you don't have the game yet, I've left a link to the Steam page in the description, where the game is currently on sale for 40% off until March 14th. which makes it very good value for the game. And if you do already have it, be sure to try it out in its final form and let me know in the comments your opinions. And if you want to try your luck, I'm also giving away a copy of the game over on my Discord for my community, which I'll be selecting a winner for in 48 hours. Now don't forget to drop a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Kenator, out.